Andrew, anytime you're ready, we're good to go. What's So this weekend, as we do each year, on the weekend of Martin Luther King's birthday, we honor not only his memory, but the work of the movement that he was a part of, the work that still needs to be continued in our day and age as well. So we begin with a prayer. Olam Chesed Yimeneh. We pray that if we build this world with compassion, we bring into this world kindness and justice, then God will help us rebuild this world the way that it was meant to be. Please join us. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, I will build this world from love, and you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Before we can properly welcome in the Sabbath, we need to take the time to properly welcome one another. So I'd like to invite everybody to, now that you're nice and comfortable and settled in, stand up and to introduce yourselves to at least 2 or 3 people that you didn't know when you walked in tonight. My cough is at the end stage where you just want to.
Don't start.
No, I'm not sick. It's.
No, don't start coughing. Don't do it.
Get this unruly show on the road.
I'd forgotten. It's very funny.
I'm turning my microphone on.
So the Sabbath Queen is complaining about getting wet outside, and she's knocking on the door. We continue with our service.
Let's just do it.
Gentlemen, we continue with the service on page 138 with Lecha Dodi, and we'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Page 138.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach, Shamor v'zachor, b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet, v'litehila, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach, likrat Shabbat lekov v'nelecha, ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach, hitoreri, tiva orech, kumi uri, shidaberi kevod Adonai, alayich nigla, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach.
בואי בשלום, התרם בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach.
It is always a wonderful thing to be able to celebrate a child taking their place amongst the Jewish people. But tonight I am particularly pleased to be able to celebrate Oren taking his place as a bar mitzvah. I didn't think you'd make it either, honey. Is that what you were looking over there at? No, in all seriousness, as I was working with him last week in preparation of the bar mitzvah, and I heard him chanting Torah, I realized what a miracle it truly is to have him, to be able to stand on our bima as a bar mitzvah. Some of you may be familiar with Israeli politics, and there are some who say that Reform Judaism is not something that will sustain the Jewish people. And yet we have this child descended from Reform rabbis in Europe, descended from Holocaust survivors, descended from Israelis, and if anything is going to be hard on your Judaism, it's going to be that. And he's the 4th generation member of our congregation. He is an improbable possibility. 50 years ago, no one would have thought that you could have existed. And yet, as you stand here on this bima throughout this Shabbat, you are a testimony to the strength of your family, the strength of our people, and the strength of Reform Judaism to continue to inspire and to sustain us through good times and through difficult ones. So it's my pleasure not only to invite up Oren, but to also invite up his parents, Andrew and Ronit, and his big sibling, Gali, to come and to join us on the bima and to do us the honor of lighting the Shabbat candles. The blessing can be found on page 120, but first we continue with Shalom Aleichem on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bokem l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzekem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We continue together with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144.
Yitkada veyitkadash shemei Rabba ve'amad yivrach yirtei ve'amlik malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael b'gala b'gala u'v'zman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam lo me'amaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalach shemei l'kudashah b'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata Tushbekata v'nechemata damiran be'alma ve'imeru amen. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated.
In Judaism, we love the liminal space, the place in between. We don't live in the black and the white, but we live in that gray space in between. In the morning, we offer the prayer of the Yotzer Or. We say it at dawn as it's not dark out and it's not light, but in that space in between where the light and the dark mix together. And in the evening, we offer the Ma'ariv Aravim. We thank God for bringing on the evening, and we sit in that space between the black and the white, and we praise it, and we give thanks for it. Too often, humans like to put things in boxes, to make clean lines between this and that, or him and her. And these prayers remind us that that's not where the beauty of life is. It's in the in-between. It's when the colors mix, when the dawn and the dusk burst out into the world. This is the space where life can truly be blessed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Page 150.
Ahava olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadata Otanu limadata Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu uvkumeinu nasiach bekukecha v'nizmach b'divrei toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hechainu ve'oreh yameinu Uvahe nege yomam v'layla nege yomam v'layla Ve'ahavacha al tasir Mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohei Amo Israel Ohei Amo Israel Amen Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please join us in the Ve'ahavta on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
So I'm going to give you guys a pop quiz right in the middle of service. Are you stressed? Did you see that? He goes, to shake things up a little. If you turn with me to page 157, I was discussing this prayer with somebody a few months ago, and they didn't understand what it meant. And I said, this is a civil rights prayer. So this is the thing you have to ponder on. As we read this prayer, I'm going to ask you afterwards, what in the world makes this a prayer about civil rights? Okay, so you have to actually read it with me so that you could get it. Together, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. So what does that mean? That wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. Really? Not a single person? I'm looking at this crowd. Brian, I thought you would be the first to raise your hand. Blair, what does that mean that wherever we go, it's always Egypt?
Well, because when we were in Egypt, we were in bondage, we were oppressed, and in that sense of wherever we go, wherever anybody goes, there is always oppression and bondage, even if you don't personally feel it, and you always have to fight it together.
Absolutely. Do we ever make it to the promised land? Come on, Brian, you're a civil rights attorney. Do we ever make it to the promised land? We keep trying. What happens when we reach one step closer? What do we realize?
There's more to go.
There's more to go. There's more fights. That when we look at civil rights, it's not just about one time in history. It's an ongoing struggle. And while we may make accomplishments in one area, as soon as we avert our gaze, we see that there's others who are in need of equality, others who are in need of rights. We'll never make it to the promised land, but that doesn't mean we should stop trying. It just means that we have to keep having more and more hands joining together until finally, one day, we'll make it to the other side of the sea. Please join me on page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילו עושה פלא, נורא תהילו עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע היה לפני משה ומרים. זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם באש. די 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 ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We continue together on page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'avideinu Malkeinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'avideinu Malkeinu Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'avideinu Malkeinu l'chaim.
It's my pleasure to invite up all of our B'nai Mitzvah students to come and join us on the Bima with your prayer books and to do us the honor of leading us in the Vishamru and the Tefillah.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם בגדולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את Shabbat vayinafash V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם.
Please rise for the tefillah on page 164.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agitei latecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל וזוכר כסתרות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לפני פניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מחכה חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue praying privately from page 172 through 180, either standing or sitting, as is your custom.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן, ואמרו אמן.
Bless you.
לבריאות.
Our thoughts now turn towards those in our lives who are in need of healing, a healing of spirit or a healing of body. And while prayer is nice, prayer is not enough. When we say the names of our loved ones aloud, it's a reminder not to God that they need healing, but it's a reminder to us that we should assist in the act of healing. So if there are people that you're praying for tonight, think of how you can reach out to them between this Shabbat and next. How can you ease their burden at this time? Do they need some chicken soup? Do they need a call? Do they need even just a text so that they know that there are people who are there for them? Think of the ways how you could take your prayers and turn them into actions. We continue on page 371.
מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, מי שברך אמותינו, שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל, may the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer.
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 Hear our
Hear our
prayer.
prayer.
And
Bless
bless
us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with the vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Bishabera Chavotenu, Bishabera Imotenu.
Hear our prayer.
Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer.
Hear our prayer.
Hear our prayer.
Hear
Hear
our prayer.
our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Bless us as well.
So, about a decade ago, Daniel Kaufman, who's a member of our board, was not only not a member of our board a decade ago, but not even yet a member of our congregation. I don't know if you remember this, Daniel. We went out to get a cup of coffee, and you asked me why you should join this synagogue. And you asked me what I would consider to be what in my eyes would mean that it was a successful congregation. And I don't know if you remember, but one of the things that I said was that all of the children in our congregation would grow up and they would engage in tikkun olam in the world, either professionally or personally or both. And they would say that they learned how to do this at our congregation. That this was the place where they learned how you take your values out into the world to change it and to make it better. Because to me, that is what Judaism is about. It's not just about having beliefs, but it's about turning those beliefs into a way of life and into a path, not just for ourselves, but for everybody to make the world better. And for me, I feel very blessed to be able to have a mayor who I know is motivated exactly by that, by a deep sense of his Jewish values, that this world has work to be done, and that we have an obligation, not just a responsibility, but an obligation to engage in the work, the hard work of repairing our world. And so it is my pleasure to invite Mayor Darrell Steinberg to come and to share some thoughts on this Martin Luther King Shabbat.
Future voter. Yeah. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi, for that very nice introduction and for not teasing me about showing up to temple. I've been breaking the record. I've been here like 3 times in the last month. Usually I introduce myself here as the cantor's husband, and I'm proud to be, but I also am proud and privileged to be here tonight as your mayor. And this is a special weekend, not only because one of our finest young men is getting bar mitzvahed in wonderful celebration with his family. It's also Martin Luther King's birthday. And so tonight we pray together, and on Monday for the 35th year in Sacramento, and I believe it is my 32nd year, missed 1 or 2, we will march together in the thousands in South Sacramento and in North Sacramento to commemorate and celebrate Dr. King's birthday. This march is always my favorite event of the year, and I go to a lot of events. There's something about it. It's the cold weather, but the cold weather is minimized because you're surrounded literally and figuratively by the warmth and the presence of thousands of fellow marchers, and the feeling of friendship, the feeling of solidarity, the feeling of community, the start of a new year. to think about all that it is possible. Every year I try to ask myself the question anew, what exactly are we marching for? What are we dreaming, in Dr. King's words, to achieve? For when you read and know the history, and we have some esteemed members of our congregation like the Landsbergs who lived the history, we know that Dr. King and many leaders, including Jewish clergy, marched in Selma for voting rights, marched in Birmingham for the right to ride an integrated bus. In 2023, I think it's also important to remember how, when, and where Dr. King died. He died in Memphis in 1968 after marching with sanitation workers fighting for higher wages and safer working conditions. By 1968, the black sanitation workers in Memphis could sit at any lunch counter they wanted, but they could not afford to live, literally could not afford to live a decent life. Our Jewish community, not only here in Sacramento, but throughout the country, is especially attentive to the most vile and overt words and actions that represent pure bigotry and hate. Not only when we are the target, but also when any other diversity group is the target, and rightfully so. That reaction and proaction to educate about history, to educate about the Holocaust, to educate about hate must never diminish. But it is not enough. Historic discrimination has had profound economic and opportunity consequences for many generations throughout the country, including this city that I am proud of and that I am privileged to help lead. We've had a number of major protests in our city over the last several years after the death of Stephon Clark and the murder of George Floyd. And most of those protests occurred in downtown Sacramento and either began or ended at the old west end of the downtown. I don't know how many of you know the history, that the old West End was a neighborhood that in 1950 housed 70% of the city's minority population. Right around the same time, the West End was labeled blighted and demolished to make room for Interstate 5 and new state office buildings. And why was it blighted? Because the Federal Housing Administration refused to underwrite mortgages to non-white borrowers, saying that they were a threat to property values. There weren't a lot of choices for people of color, especially African Americans, in the 1950s and even the 1960s. Racially restrictive covenants barred non-whites from neighborhoods like Curtis Park and East Sacramento, some of our finest neighborhoods. Instead, people of color moved to proud neighborhoods, but disadvantaged neighborhoods like Oak Park, Meadowview, and Del Paso Heights, which did not have such restrictions. Most of you know about the late, great Nathaniel Colley, a Sacramento icon, and the story was told by his son about how Nat Colley and his wife actually bought a home in Southland Park in the 1950s. But they were not allowed to purchase it directly, and so they had to use a go-between, a friend, to buy the house. Nat's son, Nat Jr., once told a Sacramento Bee reporter that while the white friends acted as the actual purchasers for the Colleys, that sometimes his mom would check on construction, Nat said. She would let them, the neighbors, think that she was the maid. And after they moved in, there was a cross burning on the law, he said, rather without much emotion. But he said it was a fairly quiet experience after that. The collies' experience was anything but remarkable or unique. It was common. And I think it is important as we march in 2023 here in Sacramento that we recognize that this is not just Black history. This is our history, our shared history. We must acknowledge from the past and learn from it so we can avoid repeating it. And the truth of the matter is, as many great things as we have going on in this city, and I'm really proud of the city, the way it has persevered through crisis after crisis, our heart and our actions, we still live with these historic wrongs today. Look at the state of some of our neighborhoods. Inequities have persisted in many forms over the past half century. In Sacramento, we are in the middle of a generational debate about what should be the core functions and core responsibilities of a modern city. And as mayor of this city, in my 7th year now, I am living this debate every day. There are many who say, and it's not right or wrong, but it just is the debate. There are some who say the city ought to just get back to the basics. Police and fire, pick up the garbage, and mow the lawns of the park, provide as many youth programs as far as the money will go, and let the city be this beautiful city of trees with its tree-lined neighborhoods, and the responsibility for all these social problems belong elsewhere. And then there are the new city proponents. I suppose I'm one of them. In fact, I ran on a new city platform and was elected twice. Says that no, modern cities must invest in these forgotten neighborhoods, in the forgotten commercial corridors. We must have an affordable housing strategy. Yes, we're not a health and human service agency, the county is, but we must lead on the problem of our unsheltered population, the homeless, and we must do more to make sure that nobody is outside in the middle of winter or in the middle of summer. And it's a debate that goes on every day, and I don't yet know what the outcome will be. It part depends on who the people choose to elect, but it's also about what this city wants to be. Does it want to be still a quiet city that limits growth, and I don't mean growth in just a physical way, but in terms of our aspirations? Or do we want to be a larger city that has many more opportunities, more diverse industries, more workforce programs for kids from the neighborhoods, more vitality, and all of the challenges that come with that? Or do we want to step back and say, we don't need all of that, just let us be? Dr. King would say, there's no choice but to grow in an inclusive way and in a way that ensures that all of those forgotten neighborhoods are as much a part of this city and as much a priority of this city as any place else. If Dr. King were alive today, in my view, he would be asking different questions, and he would be expanding the definition of civil rights in profound ways. He would ask, why is there not a right to housing in Sacramento and in California, so that housing is not just an economic commodity, but a guarantee, some form of decent, dignified housing for everybody? He would ask, why doesn't the city spend more of its tax dollars investing directly in the meadow views? And boy, believe me, we are trying and making progress, but why isn't it a fundamental principle of governance in 2023 to say, as important as it is to have a larger police force and good traditional public safety, that real public safety happens when every kid from every neighborhood has no time to get in trouble. Even if Dr. King's I Have a Dream message is timeless, but he would not argue if he were alive today for its original intent. I have a dream must be a living, evolving constitution of its own. I have a dream that everyone has a right to live in a safe dwelling. I have a dream that everyone has the right to a living wage. I have a dream that health care, both physical and mental, must be guaranteed to everyone. If he were alive today, those themes and more would undoubtedly be central to his speech if he gave it today. I live like you do with hope, because we have all seen how change occurs and can occur over the course of a generation. Because in many parts of this country, African Americans could not sit at lunch counters or ride integrated buses. And I know from my own experience, and I'm still young, that when I started in the assembly in the late 1990s, that it was a controversial bill, barely passed, for the California legislature to grant domestic partner benefits, enabling LGBT domestic partners, hear this, to have the right to visit their loved one sick in a hospital. That bill barely passed the legislature. And in 2023, marriage equality is not only the constitutional law of the land, 5-4, but is also now the statutory law of the United States of America. So we must never give up hope. But when I march on Monday, and when we all, I hope many of you will come out, rain or shine, it's a great time, on Monday, I hope that we all march for a city that has an even bigger definition of justice. March for the low-wage workers. March for the unhoused. March for the disenfranchised. March for those who have given up hope. We don't march for perfection, but we march to continue to fight so that the next generation can look back on what we did and said, all right, we still have so much work to do, but look at what they did to do their part. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Mayor Steinberg. I'm particularly appreciative that you highlighted the Poor People's Campaign, the work that Reverend King was doing towards the end of his life. It is now my pleasure to invite up Josh Masternardi, the president of our congregation, for some Shabbat announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. And thank you, Mayor Steinberg, for that wonderful message. It's very tough to follow that. And thank you, Rabbi Alfie and Cantor Steinberg, as well as Michael Herscher, for a wonderful service. And Mazel Tov to Oren and your whole family. Tonight after services, please join us for the Oneg, hosted by the B'nai Mitzvah class and CBI. Tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Torah study, led by Rabbi Stacy Peterson. 10:30 a.m. Shabbat morning services, including the celebration of Oren Schwartz's bar mitzvah. Sunday, there is Kulanu, I believe. And then in the evening, the Achim discussion group for men is going to be happening at 7 o'clock. This session's topic is Jewish Men at Work, which is probably a much lesser known band. On Monday, the CBI office is closed, but please join for the Walk With Me March for the Dream at 9 a.m. There's information in the Chadashot on that. Next Saturday, Shabbat, on Saturday morning, there's going to be a Kavanah Shabbat in the chapel at 10:30. Coming up, there are a whole bunch of activities, lifelong learning and other activities, including on next Thursday, the 19th, Dr. Bruce Haynes with a program on anti-Semitism, racism, and race in the modern world. The 22nd, a crash course in Judaism with Rabbi Stacy. On the 24th, a program with Mike Agron on the role of music in Jewish culture and practice. On the 26th, the Women of B'nai Israel are hosting a Rosh Chodesh get-together. And on the 29th, the Conversational Hebrew for Beginners class begins. There's information in the Hadashot on that. And one recent thing that's coming up on Super Bowl Sunday, Brotherhood is going to be hosting a Super Bowl watch party here at the synagogue. So mark that in your calendars. There'll be more information coming soon on that. Confirmation class still has some olive oil available, so get that while it's still available. And now, Oren, if you would like to introduce your family.
Okay, people, please stand up. All you people. You guys can too. Back there. This is my grandpa, Ronnie. This is my grandma, Joanne. These are my parents, Ronit and Andrew. This is my sibling, Golly. This is my grandpa, David. This is my grandma, Shelly, but she can't stand up. So, but you know she's part of the family too. These are my cousins and my uncle from Australia, Billy, Anna, and Ori. That's my uncle and cousins Uri, Karen, Yair, and Tamar. These are my, I think, second cousins or something like that. Jonah and Natan and my second aunt or uncle. I don't know how you say that, but yeah, that thing. Dan and Irina and our very close family friends, Annette and Mark. So yes, that is my family.
Welcome, everybody. Those are excellent introductions. And now I'd like to ask any members of the Board of Trustees, committee chairs, or past presidents to stand up and introduce yourselves.
I'm Brian Landsberg. I'm co-chair of Religious Practices Committee.
Hi, I'm Judy Emick Leatherwood, and I'm chair of the Music Committee, choir wrangler, and I schedule Torah readers.
Hi, Davida Levin Robinson, BPA membership, and I have some exciting news. Membership Shabbat is on February 10th, and it's going to be bigger and better because we are back in person. So probably for the last 3 years, if we did not come for a dinner, we're actually going to have a dinner that the confirmation class is going to be sponsoring. For new members, the dinner will be covered. For others, there'll be some costs that will go towards the confirmation class. We hope you could join us. There'll be reservations to make for that. Then the drash is going to be by some new members who are here tonight, Carrie Lewis and her daughter Madison, to talk about their journey here in the last year. And then the oneg is sponsored by the membership committee. So I hope you could join us and you can come talk to me about it.
Hi, Rachel Stern. I'm the VP of Membership. I have no exciting news. I mean, what am I VP? Education.
Education.
Sorry. But I have no other exciting news. Are you clear on your role?
You know what you want to do next.
I'm Bree Bahar. I'm the Vice President of Administration.
Do you have any exciting news?
No exciting news.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Kaufman. I'm the Vice President of Development.
And I'm Michael Herscher. Up here, I'm Michael Herscher. I'm the chair of the Lifelong Learning Committee, and I have to amend what Josh said about Mike Agron. He's going to speak on the topic of the intersection of entertainment and social justice. So don't miss it.
All right. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Josh. It's my pleasure to invite up all of our B'nai Mitzvah students once again to come join us on the Bima as they do us the honor of leading us in the Aleinu, which can be found on the bottom half of page 586. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated.
Our thoughts now turn to loved ones who are no longer with us, and it is with great sadness that we announce the recent passing of Shirley Rosenberg, the beloved grandmother of Ari Asher and beloved grandmother-in-law of Stacy Asher, and beloved great-grandmother of Elliot, Micah, and Sam. Also, sadly, we recall the recent passing of Shirley Rimmer, the beloved mother of Kirk Rimmer, beloved mother-in-law of Elise Rose, and beloved grandmother of Julie Rose and Austin Rimmer. Also, with great sadness, we announce the recent passing of Jack Baird, the beloved stepfather of Jennifer Webb and of Rachel Resnick, and beloved father-in-law of Rachel Resnick. Also, sadly, we recall the recent passing of James Jimmy Siegel, the beloved husband of Gabriella Siegel, beloved father of Jordana and Erica, and beloved father-in-law of Matthew Hine and Jonathan Mello, and adored pops to Julian, Graham, and Dylan. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. We also recall loved ones who have passed away at this time in years past. We remember Edith Albert, Sylvia Bekowitz, Rose Belzer, Harold Berg, Tilly Berlinski, Charles Bittman, Sophie Bittman, Edgar Bonin, Jacob Farrow, Nora David, Mitzi Davis, Norm Davis, Sophia Dubowski, Larry Gannis, Bertold Herpe, Bessie Hubbs, Abe Karnofsky, Annie Kubel, Michael Lawrence, Sam Len, Betty Levy, Betty Lieb, Naomi Mocht, Evelyn Mandel, Harold Meltzer, Gabrielle Mendel, Samuel Merksimer, Rebecca Nathan, Tilly Nathan, Dorothy Novak, Robert Novak, Shirley Pockris, George Ramsey, Daryl Rogoff, Zelma Rogoff, Betty Rothholtz, Amelia Salkin, Annie Schwartz, Norman Schwartz, Ed Sieve, Shirley Sieve, Dan Shannon, Alan Silver, Melvin Sosnick, Monel Stanger, Elliot Stern, Joe Ten, Marie Walker, and Sarah Wasserman. If there are any names that anyone would like to add to the Kaddish list tonight, please feel free to call those names aloud as my gaze meets yours. If you're saying Kaddish for a loved one tonight, I'd like to invite you to please rise. And if the congregation can please join me in these words of comfort. Hamakom yenechem edchem v'shachar Etzion v'Yushalayim. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We all rise to offer comfort to those who grieve as we continue together on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei techol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha barichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mirmav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. So, Michael, I understand you have a particularly special treat for us tonight?
כן.
Oh, is this a special treat?
חבר שלי
Do you want me to translate? This is my friend
באוסטרליה.
From Australia, or in Australia?
היא אורי
Not
וייסר.
in Australia, because he's in Sacramento right now.
Oh, mean Australia.
Okay, good.
Oh. סליחה.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm exhausted my Hebrew now.
Nice to be here.
בוא.
Does he have a name, Michael?
Ori Weiser, uncle
Shabbat
of the bar
shalom.
mitzvah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got anything you want to say to your mishpucha?
Grateful to be here, everybody, and to celebrate together. My nephew's Oren bar mitzvah. I think we're singing a song about freedom, so wishing everybody physical, mental freedom from this day on.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Everybody sing this. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord. And be free, and be free. No more weeping, no more weeping, no more weeping. no more weeping over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. They'll be singing, they'll be singing, they'll be singing, they'll be singing over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Take it, Ori. Oh, freedom. Oh, oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. One more time. Oh, freedom. Oh, oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me, over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
We conclude our service with the Kiddush and the Motzi. The Kiddush can be found on page 123. And do you have the big boy cat?
Sorry.
Right up there. Oh, you hit the real stuff. You have to drink the whole thing.
Oh, do
No,
it
stop.
now?
No, first we do the blessing.
Okay.
I know you're eager.
I'm not so sure.
Ready?
Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho Ve'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit Ki hu yom tekilo lemikra'e kodesh Zecher letziyat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'karta Ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim Ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Amen. Ula shalom.
You have to drink the whole You don't really have to.
Oh, okay.
The rabbi tells you to.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do the whoosh?
Yeah.
Okay, big whoosh. Ooh, ah. Okay.
Are you okay? Do you want some water?
There's, okay, there's water right there.
No.
He's having trouble walking there.
The rabbi tells you you have to drink the whole thing.
It's the first time he's listened to me. I didn't expect him to do that. Are you okay, honey?
Yeah.
Okay. So this sad little challah is actually just a stunt challah for demonstration purposes only. There is a delicious challah that has not been touched by my hands that is sliced and ready to go for your eating pleasure at the oneg.
Have you been practicing this?
I think about it.
You've really perfected
I feel like the flight attendants on Southwest. I have my little, banter.
for your dining pleasure.
For your dining pleasure. So this is for blessing only, but there is not only a wonderful challah, but also a wonderful oneg that awaits us. You ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom v'te'avon.
Please join us in the oneg.